Once upon a time, in a forest filled with tall trees and chirping birds, all the animals were busy with their day. The squirrels were collecting nuts, the rabbits were hopping around, and the birds were singing songs. It was an ordinary day until a strange sound filled the air, a soft, cheerful whistle that seemed to come from nowhere. Out of the forest mist appeared a mysterious figure. He wore a long purple robe covered in golden stars and carried a tall, shiny staff that sparkled in the sunlight. His hat was tall and crooked, and his beard was as white as snow. The animals whispered among themselves, "Who is this? What is he doing here?" The figure smiled warmly and said, "Greetings, dear animals of the forest. I am Magnus the magician, and I've come to bring you a magical show." The animals stared at him with wide eyes. A magician? In the forest? They had never seen anything like it before. Magnus tapped his staff on the ground 3 times and said, "Let's begin." First, he waved his hands in the air, and tiny glowing butterflies appeared out of nowhere. They sparkled in colors the animals had never seen: pink, green, and even golden. The butterflies danced around the forest, making the rabbits giggle and the deer tilt their heads in wonder. Then, Magnus clapped his hands, and a fountain of colorful bubbles shot up into the sky. But these weren't ordinary bubbles. Inside each bubble was a tiny rainbow. The animals gasped. "How is this possible?" They whispered. "Magic," said Magnus with a wink. Next, Magnus turned to the squirrels. "Would you like to help me with my next trick?" he asked. The squirrels nodded eagerly. He gave each squirrel a small acorn. "Now watch closely," Magnus said as he waved his hands over the acorns. Suddenly, the acorns began to glow and grow. They grew into tiny trees right in the squirrels' paws. The squirrels squeaked in surprise and delight, and the other animals clapped their paws and hooves. The birds wanted to join in too. Magnus asked them to sing their sweetest song. As they chirped, his staff glowed, and sparkling notes floated out of their beaks. The notes turned into twinkling stars that hung in the air. The forest became a magical concert hall, with glowing stars lighting the trees. The grand finale was the most amazing trick of all. Magnus pointed his staff at a patch of empty grass and waved it in a big circle. Slowly, a golden tree began to grow. Its leaves shimmered like sunshine, and its trunk sparkled like jewels. The animals stood still, completely awestruck. "How did he do that?" The fox asked the owl. "I have no idea," said the owl, who was usually very wise. Magnus laughed. "The secret to magic," he said, "is to enjoy the wonder it brings. Sometimes, it's okay not to know how something works. Just enjoy the magic." The animals nodded. They were so happy, they didn't care how Magnus did his tricks. All they knew was that this was the best day they had ever had. As the sun began to set, Magnus said, "It's time for me to go, but remember, the magic of happiness and friendship is always in your hearts." With one last wave of his staff, a shower of golden sparkles filled the air, and Magnus disappeared into the forest mist. The animals spent the rest of the evening talking about the amazing show. The fox and the owl tried to guess how the tricks worked. The rabbits pretended to wave magic wands, and the birds sang their magical songs. From that day on, the forest animals often looked to the horizon, hoping Magnus the magician would return. But even if he didn't, they knew the magic of that special day would stay with them forever, and so, the forest was never the same. It became a place filled with wonder, laughter, and the memory of Magnus' magical visit. The end.